Hello and welcome to the show. I apologize for no Monday episode. Dealt with a little bit of a health issue. Hi, sweetie. My daughter's in the car with me at the moment. Um, so just needed some time to relax. Uh, still not 100%, but way better than was. So it's just one of those things where you don't take the meds you're supposed to take, and you start getting loose with the doctor's orders, and then stuff goes sideways. So it is what it is. Yep. So today's Wednesday episode is just going to be kind of a short and sweet little like update. So t-shirts will be printed. Orders are going to be sent out. This evening, when you're listening to this, I'll be talking to the Track Monkey Apparel folks. They'll be on the show next week on Wednesday for the typical guest interview. Um, yeah. So yeah, they're just looking at me like I'm crazy talking to myself. So it's one of those things where lost my train of thought. Oh, yeah, hi. You're not supposed to have carbonated things anymore. So I don't know what everyone else drinks. So I'm a big energy drink guy, is what I always drink. Um, and the doc, aka the wife, is sitting here suggesting that I go to non-carbonated everything, but it's hard to find a non-carbonated energy drink that's really good. So I'm trying to learn to like coffee. So today, uh, trying a caramel something or other from a local coffee place. It's okay, I guess. Not the best, not the worst. Yeah. Watching my daughter try and drink out of a straw is hilarious. Don't know quite why she knows how to drink out of it, but she's just being strange. Just like her daddy, basically. So it's one of those fun time things. So I've been seeing a lot of interesting cars recently, just driving around. Um, Saw a couple Porsches the other day. I've been seeing a lot of old muscle cars in the area. I wonder if it's because it's getting to be summertime. See, around here you wouldn't think you would see too many cars like that driving around in the summertime, seeing as how it gets to be like 112 degrees with 100% humidity, which, as Ryan West will tell you, apparently doesn't matter, but I will tell you as someone who lives in this humidity, it makes a huge difference. So there's that. I don't know. It's interesting. So it's been fun. It's been kind of like, interesting to see all these cars. I'm not sure if it's a trend. Maybe people are just taking out their older stuff just because it needs to get out and breathe. And I've just been lucky to see it all. Let me see. Go back through the photos here. You had little Porsche. I saw a Celine Focus the other day, which I don't know what that's about. I'd never seen one before. Been seeing a lot of little interesting cars, old Land Rover Defenders, a lot of old Camaros recently. I wonder if they have like vintage air in them or something. That makes sense to me. Yeah? What are you doing back there to that straw, sweetie? Yeah? Yeah? Huh? Yeah, okay. Yeah? Just being cute? Yeah, that's your way? Okay. Yeah, we're just waiting for the mommy. Oh, that's another interesting thing too. So the Escape that the missus has, the hazard lights aren't actually the turn signals; they're in the fog lights, which I don't know why that's the case. Seems super strange to me to go through all that effort to do that. I imagine maybe it's a European regulation, seeing as how this is the Ford Kuga over there overseas. Um, oh, it's interesting. The Can you tell I'm a little bit more scatterbrained than normal? It's up a little early, haven't quite had the caffeine. Yeah. No. Yeah? Is that so? No, caffeine is life for me. So having to switch up the source of it has been a little bit like perplexing. So, because most of the time when you're hearing me, it's late in the afternoon, early evening. I've had caffeine, I've had time to wake up. As I sit and talk to you now, it's relatively early in the morning, just not quite caffeinated yet. So uh, interesting. Oh, that's what I wanted to talk to you about. So, the Audi motor update install, how it's going. So the motor is sitting in the bay. I think that was in the last update. We're working on getting the fuel set up to it. Yeah, again, yeah, get the fuel set up to it. We're working on the electrical system because it's the easiest thing to get working. I don't know if you can hear my daughter making noises back there or not. So we're working on the electrical system because I have all the parts. So the electrical's going in. We're working on it. We're actually cannibalizing parts from the Nissan setup to do that. So starter relays, everything like that. So I'm hoping to get that up and running this weekend. I hope to have the fuel plumbing all done. Yeah. And set up. The only issue is going to be getting the charcoal canister where it needs to go, just so like the fuel tank doesn't overpressurize. I don't think that's going to be a huge issue. Got to go look through it, make sure everything's hooked up right. Anyway, the other thing is once the fuel system's set up, we get the electrical set up. We're basically just an ECU away from trying to get this thing started. So once that's started, we're going on vacation the first couple weeks of August, so won't be able to work on it then. So when we get back, I'm hoping to have the ECU waiting for me like the day I get back. Should be good to go. Plug that thing in. Yeah. Yeah? Get it running. Yeah? So we'll have it running. We're a little bit behind schedule, so it'll be running hopefully mid-August, and then we'll get the plate made up for the transmission to mount to it hopefully end of August, and then have the transmission and all that in September, get the drivetrain in there, do everything else I need to get done in October. So we'll have October, November, December to kind of do shakedown with it. Yeah. That's the goal. I mean, right now, as it sits, the car is getting there. Now, if we run into an unforeseen issue, something comes up, we have to tear down the motor, well, then we're going to have to figure out another plan for the Lemons Rally in the beginning of next year. Barring anything like that happening, though, we should be good to go. Yeah. Potty. You need to go potty? Yeah, you're my daughter. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. And that's the other thing. So we didn't really talk about this much, but road tripping with her was perfectly fine. Like I said, I think I mentioned that she kind of failed on the last little bit, so it's going to be interesting to see. I'm trying to see if anyone from a manufacturer is going to be interested in letting us use a car for a road trip. It's not looking likely. Toyota and Chevy were kind of the two. Maybe, we'll see, going on. I got to get hold of them this week, but seeing as how the trip is in a few days, I don't think that's going to happen. So, a little disappointed by that, but telling someone you're going to put a couple thousand miles on the car is not a good way to Elmo eat. It's not a good way to get them to lend you a car, but it beats not telling them and having them basically say, you know, you're never going to run the car from us again. So, what is that? Yeah, what's Elmo doing? Elmo's drinking from his cup. Good job, Elmo. Well, here, let me get you your little cup holder, just in case. Yeah, if you want to put your cup there, we can put your cup there. Yeah? Yeah, you're making a mess? Yeah, making a mess. I've been seeing a lot of Volvos on the road. Been seeing a lot of interesting cars. I'm very happy. So Um, there's, as I sit here and kind of, waiting for the missus at the doctor's, um, seeing a whole bunch of, SUVs, minivans, all that stuff, which kind of makes sense, time of day at a doctor's office. You'd imagine you'd want a lot of stuff that people can get into and out of easily without much ado, I suppose. Which I actually think the minivan's a better vehicle for that. I don't see why people want an SUV. Right. You chewed that straw to hell, and then now you're trying to drink out of it. Why you want an SUV? Although there are a couple weird cars, like there was a Hyundai Veloster here, which makes no sense to me, but who knows? Old folk getting out of Veloster. Oh, maybe that's where Hyundai is going. So Scion was kind of we're trying to be cool and chic and, for the kids, and ended up selling a bunch of cars to, like, geriatrics. I wonder if that's where Hyundai was kind of going, because at the end of the day, like a Scion XB, a Scion XB was a very practical car. It made a ton of sense for, like, a person. Hong Kong. It was very easy to get in and out of. It wasn't that hard to. You want me to take that so you don't get your leg freezing? It was easy to get in and out of as an old person. It was low to the ground. It had a ton of trunk space. I mean, I see people use them now as like little work trucks, which makes a ton of sense to me as well. But you do that, and then you have Tangle. You have, you're going to sell that car more to older folk, more practical folk than to young, hip teenage kids, especially given its boxy, we'll call it polarizing design. As far as the, hold on a second. Ooh, apologize for that. As far as Hyundai, you got a bunch of good designs. Like the Kia Soul is another car. It's easy to get in and out of. It's very practical. It makes a ton of sense as a older person. I don't see a bunch of like kids going out and like rushing to buy a Scion XB, or not Scion XB, a Kia Soul. Old folk, maybe. I don't know. Yeah. Well, like the Hyundai Veloster, it's got a big ass door. It's easy to get in and out of on the driver's side, and you can still get your kids and everyone in on the passenger side. Yeah. Hey, I think it makes a perfect bit of sense. I don't know. It should be interesting. I don't know. What do you all think about it? I mean, someone's got to fill that void. Yeah, that's almost upside down. Someone's got to fill that void that Scion kind of left. Of small, practical, kind of hip grandma cars, I guess is a good way to put it. Which is funny to me because my grandma's never been one to like kind of like match trends or just kind of give into it. She drove a Crown Vic up until like a year ago, and now she's driving like a new Ford Fusion Sport, which I think is hilarious. So it's like, because my grandfather, his vision's gone, so he doesn't drive anymore, but he used to work at a Ford plant, so they get the discounts, and because of that, they always get like the nice card from Ford. So like that's why my father has a show, which ironically I didn't use the discounts because I could have when I bought my Fiesta and Escape, but I ended up buying them used, which you don't get the discount on. So a lot of times when you buy using the Z plan, you end up losing like all the bonuses from buying at a dealership. Like we got the vehicles with like the oil change, car wash, blah 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 for life. So it makes it nice to be able to do that, go into a place and take advantage of the dealer. We get a lot of that around here, the free car washes, free oil change, free yada yada for life, because this area is so transient that they figure, well, we're only going to have to do like 4 or 5 oil changes before these people get up and move. So, it ends up working out in their favor. So, yeah, I'm looking at my daughter too. We went out and we got hibachi yesterday. Her leg is stained with soy sauce from dropping it on herself. Poor little thing. Yeah, you look like you got into the self-tanner. That's what it looks like. I don't know. It's fun. What do you want to do when you get bigger? You want to be a race car driver? What does a car say? Beep, beep. What does a truck say? Honk, honk. What does Daddy's car say? Try to teach her to say Daddy's car says vroom, vroom. Yeah. I'm working on her car recognition with her. She's obsessed with the mechanical. She likes taking stuff apart. We're not one of those hippy-dippy parents where we're like, oh, we give all the toys to all the kids and just let them choose. That's not how it is. Gender identity, blah, blah, blah. It's just one of these things where I think she sees me, and to a lesser extent her mom, enjoying cars, driving around, and I think she is mimicking it for a bit, but she also very much wants to take stuff apart, try and put it back together. She loves building blocks. That's kind of like her jam. So, loves going fast. Is a little stunt devil when it comes to that sort of stuff. So, I don't know. Might be a little like the next Travis Pastrana or something like that. Not 100%. Like, what's Terry Pastrana? Would that be it? Terry Pastrana sounds like a wonderful deli sandwich. Okay, so I was right with my old person driving a Hyundai Veloster theory. The guy just got in and he's like 60, 70 years old and was driving this little Veloster. So, oh, interesting. It makes sense though. Easy to get into and out of. Yeah, no tangle. No, but back to my daughter. I don't know. It's be interesting. A little daredevil. I don't know. I'm really curious on suggestions for people when it comes to trying to get her into like racing and stuff like that. I think it's going to be interesting because I think GTB Johnny said there's like a Power Wheel racing series I got to look up, but I looked it up. I tried looking it up, and all I came across was like adults in Power Wheels, which seems just, it's goofy and it's fun. I'm not, anything to get into motorsport, but that's not quite what, would work for her. I don't know. I know they got kid racing karting series, and at this point, it's just like anything to get her out and about, kind of wear her out, get her home, get the energy out so she can take naps, I think is kind of the goal. So when it comes to that, I think motorsport would be good. A lot of people are like, well, it's not very, physically intense. Like, no, you race for 1 or 2 times, even autocross, and you realize how much, actually requires you mentally and physically to do. So I don't know if she's quite ready for that yet, seeing as how she doesn't really follow commands very well. Yep. We still freak out. Like, she'll get in and out of the car seat, but she refuses to hold hands when we're trying to walk across a parking lot, which is not good. So there is that aspect of it. No, you're not very good at that. Nope. Uh-oh. Yeah. What's your favorite car? Yeah? No? Ford? Mercedes? Lexus? Land Rover? She's just staring at me. Ford? Chevy? Lamborghini? Ferrari? Oh, you don't like Ferrari. Alfa Romeo? No? Okay. Do you want your drink back? Is that what you want? There you go. Yeah. Keep the little one happy. Yeah. There you go. I'll find something else for you in this car. That's the other thing too, is when you have kids in the car, it turns into a little whatchamacallit, your life turns into like a series of, where's the thing, like we have like 80 million things in the car for you, but none of them are actually. Oh yeah, I don't understand why that's the thing. Kid, don't never let your kid watch Caillou. That's my number one suggestion. It kind of just turns into like a series of looking for things around other things. You got like 800 different items in your vehicles, but you never have the right item when you need it. So I know I've mentioned this before, but like there's the wonderful like picture of when they take the like B-52 and they lay out all the missiles, or the F-14 Tomcat and they lay out all the missiles and everything associated with it that it needs to run and operate. They do that with like toddlers, and it's hilarious because it's way more than you realize. Like lay out all the diapers, all the stroller components and everything, and it just turns into, you can really fill up a trunk. And I think the wife and I were both relative minimalist when it comes to the stuff we need for, our daughter. We have kind of this understanding of like, unless you're going on a long road trip, you really don't need to bring, 8 sets of diapers, 3 changes of clothes, all that stuff. Like there's a change of clothes most of the time. Really, if you're staying close to home, you really don't even need a change of clothes. You just need to bring a diaper, some wipes, and like, if she makes that big of a mess out of herself, then we're just going to, bring her home and change her. And that's kind of one of the differences between when we lived out in the middle of nowhere. All done. Out in the middle of nowhere, and now actually living closer, in civilization. Is it's a lot easier to go back home, get the stuff you need, as opposed to having to, quote, run into town, which is always fun. Not. So 90s of me. It's just obnoxious to have to, the thing I hated about living out that far was like, here's what I need from Home Depot and the grocery store, and living, I need grocery store, and then we got to go to like the electronics store, and then we got to go this place, that place, or the other place. And if you forget something, or you change your mind about something, or if a store is closed, heaven forbid, like, you end up being screwed. And then like you have to like plan out the day so much more. Like, we want to go grocery shopping, but we also want to get dinner, so we have to make sure we go get dinner before we go grocery shopping. And what time is the hardware store closing? Do we have to go there before we go get ourselves food? And if we're going to go get the food, where are we going to do it? And is the hardware store close by? And what grocery store is going to be close by? And is that one going to be open? It just turns into this giant mess. Living out in the country, it's not my jam at all. Like, I prefer where I grew up. Like, you could walk to some places, but you could also hold on a second. But you could also, sorry about that, just like having some issues, so we're just trying to spare you the most of the gross stuff. Anyway, so it doesn't work. Now there's a point of like, you live out in the country, you get a giant garage, you get, the house built you want to have built. That makes sense to me to a point, but it's still like, that trade-off is not worth it to me. And I'm curious like what my listeners think. So is it worth it? And I think it also comes down to like how you work. If you work 5 days a week, it kind of sucks, because if you have to run out somewhere, or if you're going off somewhere, you're just saying commute time. You're spending so much of your life not voluntarily in a car, as opposed to, actually being able to enjoy the time you are in a car. And then on the flip side of that, though, if you live out in the country, there's more back roads, so when you actually go to work, or home or whatever, like you actually get to drive on some actually interesting roads as opposed to, highway and everything. Like my old commute was a lot more fun to drive, but the new commute, yeah, I'm 10 miles further away and it actually takes less time, because I'm actually taking highway roads. So I don't know, I'm curious. So I'm sorry for kind of like the just chain of consciousness podcast today. We'll have an episode out this Friday. It'll be a little bit more succinct. And we return to normal schedule next week. So thanks everyone so much for listening. Have a good night. Have a good evening. Wherever you are, whatever time it is there. Thank you so much for listening. Please be safe out there.